Thanks so much, Senator Tester. I'm just going to read off a list of agencies here. Social Security, Department of Interior, DOD, Civilian Defense, Federal Law Enforcement, Tribal Social Workers, BIA, Farm Service Agency, Forest Service. All of these people call me and complain. You know why? Because they don't get paid enough to live in my state. You know, it has been enormously frustrating. You can read any number of reports, you know, from listening to statements that Williston, North Dakota has a higher rent schedule than New York City. But yet you all have been slow to respond. And I guess I am kind of, obviously Nassau isn't president of North Dakota and you don't have a presence, but I think the federal government has been incredibly slow. And the consequences of that has been really threefold. Number one, people leave. And when people leave, it costs you money and time to recruit. It costs you money to train. And a lot of times you can't replace that worker. And I will tell you, I've got farm service agencies in North Dakota that have had vacancies for not just months, but almost years. And we have a new farm bill we need to implement, no people. And I know that a lot of these agencies have contacted both Paige, your organization, and Catherine, yours, begging to get some attention to this problem because we can't continue to not serve the public. Now, I would tell you, ironically, some of the biggest complainers about not having a workforce out there are the industries that you serve, whether it is an oil field company that needs a permit to do something, or whether it in fact is a contractor who needs to be able to hire people to operate on the air base. And so this is not make-believe in North Dakota. This is real. And the civilian workforce on the not just in Minot, but also in Grand Forks, and you know very well, Catherine, the huge problems we have in recruitment and retention in North Dakota. So what the inability of us to respond to the needs of the federal workforce has in fact stymied development. And I'll give you an example. Not getting people at BLM, not getting people at BIA has meant that rigs have moved off the reservation where people clearly could use those resources. They've moved off the reservation and they're going someplace else where they don't need to deal with a federal agency. And so I don't think we can fix this problem today, but I think it is critically important that you guys start paying attention to what's happening in North Dakota to the federal workforce, because this isn't make-believe, and I think Senator Tester would join me as we look at building out federal law enforcement to meet the needs. The corner of his state in northeast Montana is affected exactly the same way. And so I guess I'd like a commitment today that we're actually going to have a very real discussion about this and come up with solutions on how we can secure a federal workforce for my state. So,
Senator, I'd welcome the opportunity to sit down and talk to you about this further, because I think we're approaching this since I came to OPM in several different ways. Most particularly, we're working with our hiring managers to make sure that they understand what authorities they have to hire. And in several cases—
Can we just for a moment, though, sure, Catherine, talk about retention of the workforce you have?
Sure.
Because, it's 6 months, 7 months to hire someone to do child protection work on the reservation is not my idea of where I want to go. I want to retain the worker that I have who's already done that work. And so what are we going to do to deal with an adjustment somehow in pay or in supplement on housing that will retain the workers that we have? And then we can talk about retention or recruitment.
I understand. Thank you, Senator. Again, I would reiterate my desire to work with you very closely on each of these cases. There are pay authorities that allow us to do retention incentives. And again, I want to be sure that as we work with each of these agencies, that the managers really understand what authorities they have available to them. And what I've found, not always the case, but in some cases, we've been able to assist with not new authorities, but new information so that the managers understand that they have these retention incentives that enable, and especially in geographic regions where it is hard to recruit and retain employees, we especially want to work with these agencies to help ensure that, that they can retain, and not only recruit, but retain the employees. So I would very much like to have that opportunity to sit with you and talk
I'm
about
running out of time, but Paige, twice I think your agency has denied adjustments to the civilian workforce on the Minot Air Force Base. Can you explain why you would do that in light of our challenges, especially in Minot where we had a flood that wiped out a lot of affordable housing where housing costs are astronomical?
Yes, ma'am. We have worked with the Department of the Air Force, specifically with Minot Air Force Base, on some of their requests for different salary rates. The data that we have, that our staff has analyzed, had shown that we did not see the significant recruitment and retention challenges you've described, but I will offer to take that back and certainly have a more deliberate discussion with you or your staff on that. We do in the department have capabilities for establishing special salary rates and also to use the recruitment and retention incentives.
And to Catherine's point, they tried to get approval to make the adjustments, and twice you said there really aren't problems out there. Now, I can tell you there's problems recruiting engineers onto the Air Force Base. This is for very many of the people that I talk in the civilian workforce, they're very, very discouraged, because what happens when you don't recognize their current living conditions is that they don't feel valued. They don't feel understood, and they don't feel valued. And let me tell you, a guy who can do HVAC work, he can walk with his feet right off your facility and never come back and never look back. And good luck hiring a new one. Good luck hiring an engineer. Good luck hiring an electrician or a plumber. And these are essential to fulfilling the mission of the Grand Forks and Minot in particular Air Force bases. And so I just feel like I have to plead their case here, because this isn't make-believe, this is true, and we see it every day, and you can't see stories that tell you that the rental rates in these communities are higher than New York City, and then not think that we have a problem and we don't need to address it. Just a couple more questions, and it goes to this issue of recruitment and young people and the aging out of the workforce. A lot of large institutions are going through exactly this same problem today, and so obviously there is a difference between the baby boomers you see up here and the new workforce. And so I guess my question to you, Catherine, is give me the two top reasons why you think a young person would want to work for the federal government, and I'll use that broadly, and the two reasons why they wouldn't.
I think the two reasons I've heard from them directly.
And that's kind of the point I want to make. We really don't know, do we?
Well, I think I can speak from the
Okay.
conversations I've had with.
But we've never done surveys, we've never done kind of scientific analysis, which would tell us these are the things that the millennials or the X generation or whatever it is, whatever category we're going to put them in, these are the reasons why they find this system good or bad.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, and that's kind of a problem, I think. I mean, and I'm not saying we need to adapt the federal workforce for the new kind of generational personality, but we may in order to meet the needs going forward. And so you can still answer the question. I just want to make the point that you and I could speculate on what that is, but we wouldn't really know.
Well, based on the conversations that I've had with, and I travel a lot around the country talking to university students, is the first one is public service, and the second one, frankly, is the diversity of opportunities within the federal government. Obviously, if you go, if an IT or a STEM student chooses to go into Google, they're pretty much enveloped in that one particular area. What I talk about and what they talk about is the vast variety of opportunities that government offers.
Okay. Well, what would be the reasons why they wouldn't want to work for the government?
I think, especially at the early years and especially in the STEM areas, pay is an important consideration.
Okay. What about status? Do you think that federal workers have taken a beating and?
I have never heard that as a reason why they wouldn't consider.
I want to just get to one point which has obviously been in the news and creates a concern for the American public, which is the IRS bonuses. You know, taking a look at kind of those incentive payments, and how do you how do you respond to someone who says, see, once again, management of a federal workforce, we let people get bonuses who are, in fact, owe the federal government money?
I think that's a particular interest, and I would never try to paint the whole picture with a small paintbrush that perhaps this would indicate. This is an important issue. It is one that I'm concerned about, and I understand your concern. I think that as we do performance assessments, that we need to be sure that they're based on the quality of work and the quantity of work individuals are providing in the workplace. These are issues I think that OPM is very concerned, that I know OPM is concerned about, and we're looking at very carefully in terms of conduct and the role conduct plays in certainly this issue of performance awards.
Yeah, and I guess not to put a fine point on it, but you can understand that this is the kind of publicity that doesn't work very well for the federal workforce. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, and you know, no one here wants to say the whole system of rewards is not good. I mean, I think that there just has to be kind of a hypervigilance to any kind of bonus situation when you're looking at a workforce that is as diverse as the federal government. And one final question, and that really is on security clearances. And I know that this has been a point of discussion at this table in the past, but obviously there's another place where I think we could get some further follow-on discussion with you about how we could improve that system, speed up security clearances, but maybe make those a bit more transparent in terms of how we decide we're going to give security clearances to federal employees and contractors.
Yes, Senator. As you know, the President's 120-day plan has begun its implementation. I'm working very closely with the Director of National Intelligence on these issues.
And when will we know, I mean, when will we have a sense of how well that plan is working?
The Director is charged as the security executive agent to review the number of clearances that are being issued, and I believe he's working on that right now.